Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Atendra. And now I'm close to the last person. I think Mark's got a few closing words, so I'll try to be even briefer in terms of now what. The four things that I'd like to quickly go through. One, the power of this book, I think, is the range and mix of stories. They're rich stories that can be used by professors in classrooms. They're rich stories that can be used in workshops and companies. They're rich stories that can be used if the book sits on a coffee table. So it's not possible to say, oh, I can't be at Patagonia because my CEO doesn't have the passion of the CEO of Patagonia. There's such a wide range of stories that there'll be something in here that you can identify with for your company or your community, and you can see the multiple dimensions, whether it's the business model or the offering or the channel, the way that these companies found their lead customers. I mean, I love Chuck's on, but OLPC, rather than go to Nigeria, you go to Rwanda first. If every child in Rwanda owns a computer, it's not going to be very long before Nigeria says, I'm not going to be shown up by this 2-bit small country next door. And OLPC did the same thing with Uruguay, which is why Brazil is now going to 1 laptop per child. Brazil would have never done it unless you had Uruguay, kind of their neighbor who they always look down on, except maybe, well, even in soccer. And so I think that, there's just a wide range of ways you can scale up and get these done. The second one is, therefore, support the organizations that are in this book so that they can, in fact, continue to scale up, to spread the word about Greenovating and what it means, and to look for what's next. So just quickly, on the convincing your organization, there's 3 different kinds of sustainability levers, as Tyler went through, different kinds of business models, different kind of ways to follow through and get around barriers. There's an immense range of stories and almost an infinite number of different ways you can connect the dots in this book. So there's kind of no excuse we can't do it here. In fact, this book is more about you can do it anywhere. If you can do it in Rwanda, if we can put a laptop in the hands of every child in Rwanda, why can't we do it in Birmingham, Alabama? And in fact, there is. 1 laptop per child exists in Birmingham, Alabama, in every child, but in no other city in this country. And so you can do it anywhere. I think that's the message here. And there's just lots of examples in this book that you can use, as I say, on your coffee table, in your classrooms, in your workshops, to give you kind of see the world through other people's eyes as opposed to your own kind of traditional views of it. Lots of companies in this book. We appeal to you to patronize their products, their brands, because they clearly are kind of leaders in bringing sustainability to the entire world and making it real. Spreading the word, obviously we'd love you all to order copies of the books, tell your friends to order copies of the book, but we're also going to put it, it is online. There's a site, there's a Greenovate site where we are going to accept additional nominations as well as the other 100 or so that we didn't put in the book, so it'll be a set of a much larger number of Greenovations. We're also going to be updating the ones that are already there, so it'll be a sustainable live site on Greenovations, and anybody who wants to nominate others who they think should be in the book, there'll be a process that enables you to do that. So we do want to, part of this is a missionary kind of view of Greenovations, particularly since all of them, including OLPC. I mean, OLPC is nonprofit, but they still pay a lot of people up the supply chain to make the computers and develop the software and everything else. So it takes money, and these companies have all found a way to do it within the economic system and make it sustainable. What's next? In addition to the Greenovate site that I mentioned, there are 2 other new words that we're going to try to introduce into the dictionary. One is going to be Healthovate, or Medovate. I don't like Medovate, so we'll have to find out something new. But clearly healthcare innovations are the next big thing, or the biggest thing going on. Again, a lot happening at the bottom of the pyramid as well as in Partners Healthcare. So Ron is here as CFO from Philips Healthcare, but there's just a huge number of innovations in getting the word out on not innovations only in the product and service and the offering, but the business model and channel and lead customers and all that in this kind of increasingly complicated world. So there will be a health or some kind of site like that and book that we're doing next. as well as one on education and edutainment, because there's a huge upheaval, as you know, and most of the students in the school know, in terms of blended action learning and the way kids learn from each other, the way students learn from each other, the way we learn on a continuous basis throughout our lives. And so that'll be the second book in this series. Both of those we're beginning work on now, so those of you who are students at Holt, you may still get additional assignments to come up with other, they've already done one set on education and health, so we'll have to turn back their assignments and say, no, we need more. So again, nominations for all the stories or books, please go to the website and those will be there. The other thing is we've begun to codify kind of lessons learned from all these books and from the 101s that Attender mentioned before, as well as our too many years experience in this field. And so there's a book that will be coming out in October. We've established a Global Innovation Standards Board from companies and academic institutions throughout the world. Mark Terrell from Imaginatic is a member of that board as well. And so we have come to agreement on what the kind of 9 key powers or competencies are of innovation, kind of a synthesis as opposed to everybody screaming about who's the best guru in the world. So trying to get common language, common standards, and so that book will be coming out this fall as well, which takes everything from all these great innovations and says, okay, what can we do to really make sure we have the capacity to really drive leadership? And so with that, just a little bit what's next. We have, for anybody who knows, there's still a couple openings in the summer ALP program, which is the Halt Innovation Olympics, where companies or nonprofits get 5 competing teams of 5 students each for 7 weeks. So 25 students basically devoting their full attention to helping companies solve their most serious problems. These are all mid-career, very experienced MBA students, so there's an opportunity if you or you know somebody who wants to participate in this program. It runs from June 23rd to August 12th in Boston, in London, and in Dubai. Corporate Bridges is another way that we kind of develop long-term partnerships with Halt to drive innovation in the companies. And finally, as a result of doing all these studies on individual cases, the students have actually built quite a competency in kind of quantifying carbon footprints. So we're doing work for companies on actually quantifying. Walmart's demanding that the suppliers tell them what the carbon footprint is and what they're doing to reduce it. So students are really building capability to work on these very small-scale student projects to help companies innovate as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over, I think, to Mark, who will close us and get us to wine and supper.